Ever started a great book and couldn't stop? With Amazon Music Unlimited, you can listen to one full audiobook each month with your subscription. From pulse-pounding thrillers to mind-expanding nonfiction, your next great listen is waiting. Download the Amazon Music app and start your journey today.
This podcast is supported by MIDI Health. Are you in midlife, feeling dismissed, unheard, or just plain tired of the old healthcare system? You're not alone. For too long, women's serious midlife health issues have been trivialized, ignored, and met with a just deal with it attitude. Many of us have been made to feel ashamed or forgotten. In fact, even today, 75% of women seeking care for menopause and perimenopause issues are left entirely untreated. But here's the powerful truth. It's time for a change. It's time for MIDI. MIDI is not just a healthcare provider. It's a women's telehealth clinic founded and supported by world-class leaders in women's health. What sets MIDI apart? We are the only women's telehealth brand covered by major insurance companies, making high-quality, expert care accessible and affordable for all women everywhere. Our clinicians provide one-on-one, face-to-face consultations where they truly listen to your unique needs. We offer a full range of holistic, data-driven solutions, from hormonal therapies and weight loss protocols to lifestyle coaching and preventive health guidance. This isn't a one-size-fits-all care. This is care uniquely tailored for you. At MIDI, you will join our patients who feel seen, heard, and prioritized. You will find that our mission is clear: to help all women thrive in midlife, giving them access to the health care they deserve. Because we believe midlife isn't the middle at all. It's just the beginning of your second act. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized, insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care women deserve.
Welcome to Emotionally Unavailable, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of emotional availability and intimacy. I'm your host, Malisa Hepner, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join me on this journey of self-discovery and connection. Whether you're navigating the complexities of relationships or exploring your own emotional landscape, this podcast is here to inspire, empower, and entertain. So get cozy and let's explore the depths of human emotions together. Hello, happy Friday. Today's episode is with Michela Giordano Castro. She is a licensed clinical social worker, trauma-informed therapist, and spiritual coach who helps millennial and Gen Z women rebuild a meaningful spirituality after leaving Christianity. Raised in a conservative fundamentalist Christian home and homeschooled, Michela spent her early years deeply devoted to her faith, aspiring to become a missionary and preacher's wife. Lord Jesus, we didn't even get into that. However, at 18, her faith unraveled, leading her on a decade-long journey of questioning, grief, and eventually reconnection to spirituality. Today, Michela combines her expertise in trauma and internal family systems therapy with her own transformative experience to guide others in healing from religious trauma, navigating family dynamics, and discovering authentic spirituality beyond traditional doctrines. She is the creator of Unbound Faith, a group coaching program dedicated to empowering women to reconnect with themselves, build decision-making confidence, and embrace love over fear in their spiritual lives. Passionate about sharing her story and inspiring others, Michela is here to discuss her journey of deconstructing faith, overcoming self-hatred, and finding a vibrant spiritual path that prioritizes love, growth, and community. And I'll make sure that I include her links in the show notes. I loved this conversation. We instantly bonded. I absolutely plan on seeing her in Houston. So anyway, I hope that you enjoy this episode. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm doing well. And I guess that is all. So here's me and Michela. Emotionally unavailable. Hi. Yes. Are you Michela?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to make sure. You look really young. That I shouldn't have said that because it's probably rude, but are you really young?
I'm almost 29 in March.
Oh.
late 20s.
Well, look at you, almost 30 and looking like you're fucking 20.
It's the camera. The camera's blurry.
You're like, this is my good side. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. I haven't had a chance to look you up and see what you're about. So will you give me a little intro?
Yeah, definitely. So I am a licensed therapist. I have my LCSW, and I am getting into the public sphere of things more to build a coaching business specifically for those who are struggling with leaving religion.
Oh, that's right. Damn it. Yes, I've been waiting for you.
Yeah, so a lot of my focus is on helping those who are struggling with the process because they want to connect to spirituality, but there's fear around that and resistance around that. And so that's what I support with in my coaching.
Oh my God. I have so many questions. Because obviously this was my journey as well. I was raised in Oklahoma. I'm still here, but where are you?
I'm in Houston area, Texas.
Oh, okay. I just talked to somebody in Dallas. I like fucking love whenever I meet people that are close, because then there's hope that we're gonna get to like connect in person, you know? Oh my God. That makes me so excited. Anyway, so I was super fucking religious, like super, but I had very fundamentalist views, even though I wasn't necessarily raised in a fundamental church. But in Oklahoma, Southern Baptist rules all, and it's got no matter what church, unless you go to, I don't know if you're familiar with Life Church because they're everywhere, but unless you go there, it's very undercurrent of fundamentalist. And like I was taught shit that's not even in the fucking Bible. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I've ever told this story on here, and I'm so fucking ashamed, but shame dies in safe spaces. And I want to share these things so that people can relieve themselves of their own shame, because I was only doing what I knew. In fucking 7th grade, I told this, I said it to someone else. Oh, I'm so ashamed of this. I like got nauseous talking about it, but I told this girl that it was against the Bible, like interracial, or like, yeah, interracial. My retrograde fucking me up today, but yes. So I believed it wholeheartedly, like to the point where I believed they would go to hell for it. Because that's how intrinsic fucking racism is in Oklahoma. Okay. And so I'm so fucking proud of this girl to this day, because she was biracial. Her parents were interracial, and she marched her ass up to me and was like, excuse, did you say da 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 da? I was like, I did. She's like, show me in the Bible where it says that. Bitch, you know, I had to be like, I don't know, my grandma said it. Shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I went to my like little Christian ass friend and I was like, so Crystal just said blah, blah, blah. Like, that's in the Bible, right? And she's like, ugh, I'm not even going to give her response because it was just as racist. But, you know, the whitewashing of that shit. And so she did that. And I was like, okay, I'm assuaged of the guilt I feel right now. Great. Moving on. But yeah, dude, I mean, like everything had a racist, fundamentalist. I mean, so much racism in the religion here in Oklahoma. So the fear around spirituality was very real. Very real. Like I wasn't allowed to look at horoscopes because that would invite demonic spirits into my life. Oh my God, the fear I lived under. Like, first of all, always afraid I was going to hell. Always. Like a friend of mine have discussed how in elementary school, we would find ourselves crying in the middle of the night and asking a parent to like ease this discomfort of like, how do we know that we're not going to hell? Because I'm pretty sure I am, because you make me feel like I'm the worst person alive, you know?
Yeah, it's very traumatic. It's, you know, looking at the like psychology of children and what they need for proper development. Religion is actually very traumatic, especially when it's with those fundamentalist values and approaches. You know, I mean, the more I've kind of expanded, because my upbringing, you know, was similar. Kind of like you, like my church wasn't super like fundamentalist. But my parents, especially my dad, was very intent on doing what God said to do based on what the Bible said. So like the older I got, the more things changed as he learned more about the Bible and was influenced by different interpretations of the Bible through YouTube and different things like that. And even me personally, even outside of my parents' influence, I actually, I'm kind of like a anomaly because I'm in this field, and yet, to be honest, my experience within religion was very positive. And I know that's, not everyone's experience. Most of my pain of the process was actually my deconversion out of religion, because, now I'm so much more aware of all of the pain and damage that people go through because of religion. But yeah, personally, I didn't fear hell. I just felt all this love for God. And, I did deal with the, anxiety about other people going to hell and, feeling like it was my responsibility to
absolutely
be an example and tell other people about how not to go to hell and all these different things.
Yeah.
Pressure. But yeah, similarly, there was that fundamentalist view of, what does the Bible say? That's what I need to do.
Yeah.
And so I would explore that even on my own and pursue that, also because there was this very, ingrained conditioning that did also come from my church, which says that, this is how you be happy. It's not only how you make God happy, but this is the best way for a human being to live and have the best quality of life, which again is so untrue based on like everything we just talked about.
So fucking untrue, baby. So untrue. There wasn't a single day. And that's not true, but there was always that shame factor. Like when I unravel my shame, it all leads back to Jesus.
Yeah, the shame and the fear is so detrimental to our psychology, our emotional health. Even the idea of unity. I mean, like you said, some people use it to justify racism. Of course, there's the, challenges with people not being able to accept other people's sexualities or identities.
Oh, absolutely.
And even within religion itself, you're not this denomination, so you're going to hell. And there's this like conflict.
Oh, baby. That is so real, because when I switched over to Life Church, because it was non-denominational and the services were an hour and I loved it. And I will never speak ill of that church. I really won't, because I got the vibe that like they were humans and whatever. I mean, yes, there was all the problems. There's all the problems that religion has. And I fucking hate church in general. So like whatever, but that specific church, I'm not going to talk shit because it turned into a mega church, whatever. But my thing, well, I don't even remember what I was about to say, but something that just keeps popping up is like, how are we supposed to teach people to feel worthy inherently just because they were born, when every word of the Bible negates that? Because we are taught that we are born unworthy. We are never going to be worthy enough for this love and blah, blah, blah. And how do you then teach somebody to love themselves? Because the only reason that you're allowed to love yourself is because God loved you first. It doesn't work, man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how, the same book can lead to so many different outcomes and interpretations based on how people read it and see it and all of that. And again, my experience within it was positive. I was taught original sin and that, I wasn't valuable because of that. But at the same time, it was very ingrained in me that, well, yes, but that wasn't God's plan or desire. And, you are so worthy because you are made in his image and you are so loved that, Jesus would even die for you. So like there are absolutely ways that people navigate their interpretation of the Bible for more of a positive outcome. And for that reason, for so long, for 10 years, I didn't say a word publicly about not being Christian. I actually left Christianity right before college, and I went to a fundamentalist Christian college where
in Texas,
in Arkansas.
Bitch, no.
Yeah.
Did you go to You fucking probably met the Duggars and shit, didn't you?
Well, I was obsessed with the Duggars.
Oh my God.
It was so messed up because, again, I thought, wow, they are happy.
Yes. Look at them. They're so sweet.
Exactly.
They don't have the problems I have.
Exactly, 100%. And so I craved that. And so that's actually, I think, part of what influenced me more deeply into fundamentalism, again, even outside of the influence of my parents. But yeah, so I went to this, conservative fundamentalist college where they had, basically a boarding school and not a university,
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I was there, and like I told a couple, friends that I got close with that I wasn't Christian, but it was scary because I didn't want to be, judged. I didn't want to be ostracized, but especially online, like on social media, I never said anything. I was never with any of my distant family about it. And part of that was I actually had a lot of pain about not being able to be Christian. I wanted to be Christian because, again, I still thought so strongly that this is how I can be happy. This is how I did see some people who did have this like different energy about them.
Yeah.
Have this like love and peace that, is definitely not every Christian and not every non-Christian either.
Right.
In fact, it can be, kind of difficult to find because my experience was, Christianity was spirituality. I would hear about horoscopes or Ouija boards or tarot cards and like all of that was demonic.
Very demonic, girl. Very demonic.
So when I left Christianity, I left spirituality. I just kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater. Partly also because it was so painful for me to have, because I felt like I did have a very strong relationship with God and a strong spirituality, even aside from religion. And so the pain of losing that made me feel like I don't want to go through this pain again. And I don't think we can know with 100% certainty what is real, even if and though, I now say though, there is something more out there. I didn't want to play with it. I didn't want to explore it because I didn't want to be wrong again. So yeah, I stayed quiet about it for those reasons. And I didn't want to influence people to leave or lose their Christianity.
Right.
Now I've let that go. I'm like, if this creates doubt for you, that's your journey. If it doesn't,
I'm not responsible. Yeah.
Right. I just want to be out there, openly to help those who have and are going through what I went through, because it took me 10 years to heal enough to reconnect with spirituality. And it's changed my life in so many positive ways, being able to live it with this. Now, I will never say you need spirituality because I was very resistant to that idea in my 10 years.
Right. Well, it's kind of some dogma that like is still a part of the culture. You know what I mean? Like that's like a Christian to spiritual pipeline. So it's hard to break some of those patterns, I think.
Yeah. Well, even outside of, religious influences, I remember even one of my therapists sending me this self-care wheel where it had all these ideas for self-care. And so there was different like pieces of pie of the wheel of like in your physical health and your emotional health, et cetera, et cetera. And one of them was spiritual. And I remember being like, I need that.
Yeah, no, I did too at first, but then like for people who aren't into the type of spiritual as me, I'm like, well, you have a spirit, you need to tend to it. So go be in nature. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have a being inside of you that is external and internal. Go feed it with like, take a walk, ground, whatever. You don't have to go connect with some other being, connect with every part of yourself. But yes, it can be triggering when someone's like, you have to. It's kind of like, I don't know if you'll feel this way, but I felt the same about that as I did. You have to, like, you can't hate yourself better. And I was like, well, I got to fucking try because I don't like myself, let alone love. So like, I felt the same way about you must do this. And I see that reaction whenever I say mind, body, spirit to like a crowd of people. And I can see the flinches with certain people, but I'm like, you just go fucking camping or canoeing or whatever, be either with air, water, fire, or ground, like do something.
Yeah. Through this, expansion and building this business and all of that and being public and whatnot, I've learned more about the different, I don't want to say levels, but just like manifestations of spirituality. So like for a long time, like, so when I was going through it, I never even heard the term deconstruction. And now this is like a really big term of deconstructing Christians and all of that. And I thought, oh, that's what happened to me. My Christianity was deconstructed. But now I know that there are people who are deconstructed Christians who are still Christian.
Right.
They are not fundamentalist about it.
They separated themselves from the rhetoric.
Exactly. But, I've also learned about people who are atheists and spiritual because, some people do get to the point where they say, with that definitive approach that there is no higher power, there is nothing more than the material. And even within our understanding of the material, there is this greater connection. There is the need for connection to nature and, the benefit that comes from that connection to others, even the benefit of rituals and things like that. So within my work, I am open to that too and supporting people on that, on that kind of path if they are not into any idea of spiritual, but still want to invest in their spirituality. I now see that that's possible and, important even. It helps to have that perspective of investing in the spiritual, like you're talking about, even nature or community.
Right. And I think for me, like, what's funny is the only reason I ever deconstructed was because I stopped going to church. And the longer I was away from church, the more I allowed myself to question the teachings. And the more I questioned, the answers I found weren't loving. And I got, as is typical for me, I'll get real anti something because of my, the response that I receive. Then I just put my wall up and I'm like, well, fuck all Christians or whatever. Right. But becoming the level of spiritual that I have has actually helped to soften some of that. I've gotten to a place where I'm like, I think we're talking about the same thing here. And it was really astrology that did that for me. As I was like understanding my astrology and the idea of fate and destiny and all of those things also lent itself to the idea of faith and surrender and whatever. And so you have to learn how to reconcile that with the things you've been taught and where's the middle ground and whatever. I mean, for me, I had to like, well, that's sounding a little Christian, whatever. And so I'm back and forth, just like, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What's this experience? And I was like, I do believe in a human design and I do believe in divine timing and power and fate and destiny. I do believe in those things because of astrology. Like it really got me there. And then the other spiritual practices, but astrology was my opening to like real deep spirituality and really connecting to that part of myself. And I started thinking, yeah, if y'all could ixnay the Bible, now I'm never going to be a Christian again, but like, I can say we're talking about the same thing here. Like y'all, we believe in the same thing, except for I don't believe in heaven and hell as an afterlife. I believe in more of a reincarnation, spiritual path kind of thing. But it's funny too, because the Christians that like are really Christians in my life, very few, but they're there. I love the concessions they make for me because like one of them listens to my show and I've gotten very, very open about the fact that I do not believe Jesus is the Son of God. I just don't. And I don't believe God exists in the way I was taught. So, but they're like, I mean, I know you're not really religious, but when God speaks or whatever. And I'm like, I love that. Like, you just like make me fit in your little, because like because they have to, because they can't be friends with me if they actually accept me for exactly who I am, because religion tells them that, like I'm an evil abomination if they actually get down to what I believe in. I mean, I do tarot, I do all kinds of shit, I call myself witchy, like I'm pretty witchy. I haven't like ever really done spells, but I'm open to that shit. So, maybe I will, but like, yeah, this was not that long ago that I was like, I think God is the same person. I'm like, the same energy that I'm feeling.
Right. It's all, our human attempts to understand the same thing. And, that has actually really helped me to actually connect and not be triggered by Christianity like I used to be. Like I used to, go to church and be so angry that I knew that they were saying that people like me are dumb and wrong and all these different things, and it would upset me. But now, I mean, I don't go often at all, but the last time I went, usually it's like for my mom or something that I'll go once in a while. And I didn't feel triggered. I recognized them saying the same things about basically, I'm wrong, they're right, all of that. But I'm just like, that's what they think. And ultimately, we are both loving the same reality. Unfortunately, the doctrine is what keeps them from being able to go about that love in the same way, because there's I have a lot of respect for deconstructed Christians who are still, followers of Jesus, because really what Jesus says is a lot of what we are aligned with.
That's what my son says. I'm like, well, I couldn't tell you. I got a lot of shit memorized, but I don't know who said what. So
yeah. But Jesus's words specifically, and yes, people talk about, oh, well, he talked about hell, but there are so many really
hell on earth is a very real thing.
Precisely, exactly. And
I've been through it. I have experienced it.
Yeah, definitely. So that's, there's a very strong argument. I think it's obvious because the idea of hell does not add up to Jesus and what he said and what he taught and all of that. So that makes a lot more sense. And there's even like the biblical, like original text interpretations and everything that supports it. But yeah, ultimately, I feel sadness for the people who are stuck in doctrine.
Yeah, no, me too, because they can't feel the peace. They cannot.
Yeah, they can. And we see that reflected in our country right now with just all the fear, again, going back to fear and shame.
Yes.
Yeah, that their spirituality, which does have something beautiful within it. That's why I was so scared to lose it when I was deconstructing.
Yes.
It is something true and beautiful at the core. And you can still have that even outside of religion. But the doctrine definitely muddles it, and it brings in all of this division and shame and fear. And that does not make the world a better place. So,
right. And that's kind of the stance that I took about how I was going to deal with people I loved voting differently than me. This time, I remember voting from that place of fear. I think all of our voting is from a place of fear. And because that's kind of our big motivator is fear. So I just was like, I remember that brand of fear. I remember it. Like when I was in college for my BSW, I had a gay adjunct professor teaching interviewing skills, and I fucking loved her so much. Like I've always had gay friends and whatever. It didn't really bother me at all. Like I remember when my aunt came out, that was like the last little piece where I was like, I think I'm going to disregard this particular teaching. Like literally, I just got to where I was like, I just can't care. But there was a line, and we were talking about going to a march for gay rights, because this was prior to gay marriage being legal. And I had a very, like a real moral opposition to whether or not I should participate in something like that. Like where's the line for Christianity? Like I had a real belief that I would go to hell if I participated in that march. And honestly, the only reason I gave it real contemplation is because I said that to somebody in confidence, who then asked the teacher. See, I picked up on the fact that she was gay right away. So I would never have had that conversation around her, because I was literally just working out an internal conflict. I wasn't talking shit. I wasn't anything. I was just like, I don't know, man, blah, blah. So she's like, what's your thoughts on blah, blah, blah? And I was like, you fucking dumbass bitch. She is so obviously gay. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, she really wasn't obviously gay, but I picked it up. You know what I mean? Like, I knew she was gay, and she said, well, I'm actually gay, so blah, blah, blah. And she wasn't mean, but she was firm and shut that shit down immediately. You know what I mean? Which was fine for her, but it didn't leave me any less perplexed about what I was supposed to do. And I just went home and I had to really fucking talk to myself and be like, I'm laying this one down. I can't care. Like, I'm going to participate. I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like, people have fundamental rights as humans. That was kind of the beginning, but my social worky shit was very in stark contrast to all of the things I'd been taught.
Yeah. And, I think that that's a really beautiful example of, how we can navigate these big questions of right and wrong. And what's really also really sad and damaging about religion is that it hinders you from being able to do that with not just the teaching of original sin, but these teachings that, you can't trust your body, you can't trust your heart because of, original sin, and that, all of our like what we are drawn to is evil. Well, no, we can be drawn to very healthy, loving, positive things. And
right,
with this idea of God, I think God, the universe, higher self, it's all just different terms for, again, the same thing.
It really is.
If you think about your God-given heart, mind, and soul, it makes sense for those to be guides, like a compass for you to figure out how to bring more love into the world and how to help other people and honor other people. So it's unfortunate when we get stuck on what a book says to base our morality off of. But you're able to overcome that in that situation. And that's not easy, when we have this kind of background. So like the shame you referred to earlier, you were doing your best. You were going off of what you knew. You were a child. And holding on to shame is something that religion uses against us to keep us, within that mindset to be able to continue to try to find that sense of goodness and comfort by returning to, what they have to say about things.
Right.
If we can acknowledge the perspective. I mean, for me, perspective is huge. So if we have the perspective that, okay, I feel this shame because of something that I was told. Now, sometimes, some guilt is warranted. There's a big difference between guilt and shame, and Brene Brown.
Right.
This, shame says I am bad.
Right.
I did something bad. And so this personification of our actions of a reflection of who we are as people, that is really dangerous because it, like you were saying earlier, this identity of, I am bad, I can't love myself. I think is very, very important. I see it to be important. In my work as a therapist, you talked a little earlier about like hating myself into doing better. I mean, the reality is that it can work.
It can. Being fueled by spite can motivate you in places that, depression cannot. So,
At the same time, though, it can fuel depression. So it really depends on the person. So, and what I often tell my clients is that, you can hate yourself into doing better. But first of all, are you? Because some people think that's what's going to happen. And what's really happening is they're just getting more and more depressed and nothing's still happening. They're just piling the hatred on top of themselves. And two, even if it does work, research actually shows that in the long run, it's not most effective. So we can make better progress and for it to stay consistent when we approach change from that approach of love, which is why I think, also spirituality is so important.
Right.
I read, what's his name? Rainn Wilson's book. He's the guy that played Dwight in The Office.
Yeah.
He wrote a book on spirituality and how we need this like spiritual revolution. And I absolutely agree. And I, again, unfortunately think that religion is actually preventing a spiritual revolution because now we have this like argument between like the Christians and the atheists. Like that's what's mostly seen in discussions of this.
That's the loudest, yes.
Yes. But you know, it's not about that. You know, spirituality again does not equal Christianity. The atheists, or the God that most atheists don't believe in, is also what we don't believe in.
Right. Yeah. We don't believe in any of that shit either. We just believe there's a divine being or energy or something greater than ourselves.
Yeah.
And that something designed us to have a purpose. That there is intention for every human on this earth, and not just to wade in the waters, but to go swim, you know? And something you said earlier made me think about this, but I think that the Christianity that I knew really took away every ounce of humanity. Like, the way I connect with people now is through the human experience, that understanding that we really are all the fucking same. We really are. If you boil it all down, we're walking around with the same core beliefs, the same core wounds, the same core narratives, every fucking one of us. And that is when I could start to see the me and them, you know, and I'd be like, oh, I do that too. Maybe the way I do it doesn't look the way you do it, but I do it too.
Yes.
And I think Christianity doesn't allow for that. There is this pocket of like, we're non-judgmental and la la la, and we connect like this, baby. You're still judging the shit out of yourself and everyone else, and I'm so sorry, but you are. And it just becomes this clout of like, we accept everyone and we da da da. And I'm like, oh no, do you though? Because that Bible that you're preaching out of does not accept everyone. Love the sinner, hate the sin. I don't hate shit. Because if I hate it in you, it's because I hate it in me. So who are we hating on here? But yeah, I think that's the big thing. And then also, I think that the way the Bible teaches about women is disgusting. And I think that it programmed me as a little girl to turn off to my intuition. Now, that was some parenting too, but that was influenced by their religious beliefs. And very much like how many people have to get hurt in a church before we start to hold church members and leaders accountable for fucking sexually assaulting like people and kids and whatever, you know, like that's why I'm like, never again will I ever like praise any of that, because there's a whole fucking system created to hurt people and not be held accountable at all. And I'm like, what the fuck? It took so long to get over the good girl bullshit, you know, like where it's like, well, I don't want to make them uncomfortable if I act uncomfortable with what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like so many instances. My brothers still make jokes about an older man in our church when we were little that every fucking week would come up to them and rub their shoulders in a way that made them uncomfortable and say, so you're going to be here next week? You're going to church next week? Every fucking week. He never touched me. He only did that to my brothers. And they felt uncomfortable, which tells me he didn't have good intentions. You know what I mean? Like, and they were like, what the fuck? But we were like church bus kids. In some ways, I'm so lucky for that, because we had these like beautiful little Sunday school people, and they were older, and the man drove the bus, and he didn't like, I had the fucking craziest childhood. So we'd be like, my mom would get sober for 5 minutes and be like, okay, I'm ready to take these kids back. And my dumbass grandma would be like, thank God. And it would not last. Like within 3 weeks, she's off, you know, sobriety wagon and leaving us now, abandoning us in a house basically for however long. And little church bus folks, they'd stop by my grandma's. She'd be like, oh, honey, you know, they're living over on such and such. And we'd know they would come. Like, you know, we'd be up and ready for church. Mom, where the fuck are you? We don't know, but we're going to church. And the guy taught Sunday school, and honestly, all of the way he taught that Bible, that's the way I learned most of it. And he was very loving and very just good, you know, like I hope I never find out anything bad about that couple, because damn it, they were so good to us. But that was really like helpful for us because we needed safety and refuge, but we're not always met with safety and refuge. You know what I mean? Like, I went to church the night that my dad died. He died of an overdose when I was 15. And, you know, I had to go visit the Lord for a little bit. It was a Wednesday, so I went to church. And, wow, markedly unprepared for teenagers with grief. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, oh, you know, shit, do you want some prayer? You know, like, no idea. And then I went to, because I didn't know this, but my family was scrounging up money for a funeral, so it took a couple weeks. So I went ahead and went to that weekend church camp thing that we had planned. Bitch, nobody would talk to me. Like, my friends were annihilating me. Like, they're like, oh, exiled, because they don't know how to deal with grief. The counselors are not like doing anything. Nobody, like, I was so fucking alone in my grief for that whole weekend. It was awful. And I'm like, church, I thought you loved me. What the hell?
Yeah, there's imperfect people, but also the organization, it does have so much structured within it that sets up for abuse, unfortunately. So it's not always the case. I mean, like you said, there are these beautiful people, these beautiful experiences, but there are so many experiences that people have where things are pushed under the rug and things are just accepted.
Yes.
Okay. I recently saw this video and it made me just so disgusted, where this pastor actually like confessed in front of the congregation to having had sexual relations with a high schooler. And they applauded him for his
being honest. Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
No, he fucking sexually assaulted a minor, honey. That's not anything to applaud. Arrest his ass. The fuck?
Yeah.
Yes. And then the thing that drives me the most crazy, though, is parents who think that their church youth pastor is a good mental health option. Like, they can't fucking pray away that shit. You need to go get them help. Like, what the fuck? And I'm not going to get into a specific story because it would be obvious who I'm talking about, and I don't want to cause pain in a situation, but it didn't end well.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at the parent. I'm mad at that fucking egotistical fucking youth pastor who didn't say, this is out of my scope.
Yeah.
I can't handle this. Like, this isn't, I will pray with you and I will whatever, and I'll help you find help. But like, bitch, you thought you could do that? You thought you could fix his shit because you were what? Just talking with him and praying? No, you didn't fix it. You didn't fix it. And it's so frustrating because that's just ego. And that's what some of those teachings get you.
Yeah, it's true. It's, you know, it's interesting for me because, you know, when I left religion, I turned to mental health information. So like, I'm also, you know, got my degrees in social work and I work as a therapist now. And that was my new focus for, you know, to seek the result of a happy, healthy life. You know, I thought Christianity was going to do that for me. Then I turned to mental health. And then, you know, I ended up having my kind of like spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call it. And so now I'm recognizing how there can be further benefits to our mental health and to our quality of life when we bring in, you know, the spiritual and the kind of the talking about. But it's unfortunate when a view of spirituality through religion, even without religion, you know, there's some spiritual people who are like,
well, there are people who are radical in their spirituality. There's radicals in everything. Exactly. And I see it. And there are people who have spiritual psychosis, which I believe was Jesus.
Yeah. So, you know, people can take it to an extreme, but if we're able to embrace all of it, you know, the holistic methods, the more modern medicine, you know, the mental health and the spirituality, it's just the best of every world. But
yes,
fundamentalism is a danger, you know, no matter what. So like you said, no
matter what they're teaching.
Yeah.
It's so Well, it's just another way to fracture us. It's another us versus them. And the less we do that, the more we're actually going to be able to come together. And I think, like, for me, my big call on my life right now is community. Like, really, really. And I don't know how to build one. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at asking for help. Like, those are things I'm working on. But the number one thing that I do in efforts to build community, even if it's from a distance, is like, the second someone signs up on here, I have started following them. That's the way that we've gotten this to happen. I'm going to fucking boost them. I'm going to reshare their shit. I'm going to like it. I'm going to follow it, like all the things. And I think people get, it takes them a little while to understand that I really am genuine and sincere, and that what you see is what you get. And then they start doing the same thing for me. And I am just knowing, I'm not even hoping, but I'm knowing that there's going to be so many future collaborations. And I want that. I want that so much, because I carried that narrative that everyone does if they're aware of it, for so many years. Like, the weight of the world is on my shoulders, and I'm the only one who can carry it. Like, I have no one around me to carry this burden, all because of perception and the reality that I was creating because of that perception. And I truly believed that I felt invisible. I felt like I was too much and not enough. And that, at my core, that I was fundamentally unlovable. So I had to do it all myself, because no one else is going to. If I don't do it, it doesn't get done. That my family used to tease me all the time about that. Because I'm like, well, if I don't do it, it doesn't get done. And that's because I was martyring the shit out of myself, where I'd be like, well, fuck it. They're never going to do it anyway. No. And now I just know I only have so much hours in the day, and I need rest. So rest can't be sacrificed. I'm almost 45, sister. So you got to take care of your body. I wake up and I'm like so stiff. I had the slowest fucking morning today just because I didn't get enough sleep last night. My whole body was hurting, and I was like, my last fucking recording was such a shit show. In the beginning, I was like, hi, I'm sorry, I don't have my life together. I just found my bra. I lost my glasses in the last 5 seconds, and I'm going to take my antibiotics while we're here. But like, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't focus on that stuff anymore, because I'm just trying to be real. I want to be my very most authentic self, because that's where I've realized, like, there's where all my gifts are, like, just, that's my uniqueness. That's my timbre. And I want to give that, because that's where I know all of my power is.
It's true.
Well, it's trying really hard, but people kind of like don't always know how to take it. They're like, are you doing this so that I'll do it? Like, like, and I've just like made a commitment to stay very curious about people's responses to me. I mean, it's not like I get negative responses, but like, how long it will take them for reciprocity, it doesn't bother me in the slightest, but it's almost become a little science experiment for me, because I'll watch, I'm sharing your shit. I'm watching your response to that. And then how the response becomes you sharing my shit too, because you see that I really am just trying to build a community here. Like, if people listen to me and this show, or book one of my workshops, or book me to speak at their whatever, this all comes with that. So I want those interactions to be real, because I got to know who the hell you are too. Like, but I connect with people on a spiritual level. So if like it was like 1 minute in, and I'm like, oh, I love you. I mean, I love everyone, but what I'm saying? It was like, oh, do you want to be friends? I'm always trying to be friends with people. And I'm like, well, I don't know what that looks like in adult life, that we don't live near each other, but I'm your friend. So if you want to be my friend too, that's fine. I would love it. But yeah, I see this call on the world now, and especially like with Pluto moving into Aquarius, it's like, it's our time to connect and understand we're not different. And yes, our experiences are, and yes, you have to dig away at all the morality and emotion to see, oh, we're the same. But when you can do that, you don't have to hate anyone, and you don't have to hate yourself. There are certain people that I would keep them at arm's length, because I don't need to trigger the shit out of myself to prove that I can have peace in a storm. There are plenty of organic storms,
Yeah. It's true. Boundaries are important, and so is community. And that's something that makes, leaving religion hard for many, because they're fearful of losing that community. But it's absolutely possible to build community outside of church, outside of religion, it can, it can be hard. But nowadays there are more organizations for connecting, without like any kind of religious doctrine at the center of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have the internet, which like I said, when I first left religion, I didn't think to try to find people on a similar path or anything. But I mean, nowadays there are so many Facebook groups and, events and, spiritual groups and cities for just, regardless of doctrine, just kind of getting together. So it does require, putting yourself out there.
Yes.
But it's absolutely possible. And, paying attention to our own energy in those encounters and, being open to receiving. So many people are afraid of being rejected that they don't approach things with curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Curiosity really is a wonderful tool. I mean, when we focus on curiosity, we're not judging.
Exactly.
We're open to whatever happens, and we're able to better process whatever happens without an expectation. Because expectations, really set us up for disappointment.
God, that's been my number one work is on expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because even when they come true, it's like, oh yay, like I got what I wanted. Versus like, oh wow, this is so nice. I didn't even expect this. And then if it doesn't happen, we're
true. Yes, but that's why I just I knew I was being forced to release expectations. I knew that, but I was like, how do you live a life without expectations? And it really is just detaching from outcomes.
Yeah.
But I kind of started gaining an understanding of how expectations had hurt my damn feelings my entire life. And now what I teach my clients is okay, so you are running around loving people the way you're begging to be loved back, right? You maybe aren't aware of that, but all this nice shit you're doing isn't you being nice. It's you hoping to be loved. And then while you're doing those things, you are actively creating a social contract full of expectations for the way this person should respond to you when you act this way. And then when they, and in your mind, both parties have signed this contract in blood. This is fucking binding. And then when they don't meet your expectations, the level of betrayal and neglect that you will experience is insane. And I lived that every minute of every day. And do you think I ever communicated a single one of those fucking expectations? Not an ounce of them, not even really to myself. I was so blind to all of these things. But how do you let go of expectations? I had a client be like, okay, but you just don't expect shit from your husband. And I'm like, well, I guess that's not true, because it's not that I expect these certain things, but he's naturally good at meeting the needs I have now that I have released expectations. So, I mean, maybe I wouldn't necessarily at this juncture be like, I need this from you. Or I would just be like, this isn't really meeting my needs, and I would divorce him. But, once I got away from all morality and emotion, it was easy for me to see damn, these are the things I actually fucking need, not all this dumb romantic shit I was begging for all those years. And consistently you've met these needs our entire relationship, but I never felt like that was an act of love. I felt like it was his people pleasing. Some of that's true, but he is very good at meeting my physical needs. Whenever I'm stressed, I don't fucking have time to eat. He's force feeding me because he knows that I'm going to be a fucking wreck in 4 hours when when I'm done with 4 hours of recording or sessions or whatever, and I haven't eaten. I don't have shit to give my family then. And that's not who I want to be. He's just helping me. He'll give me something easy to digest because he knows my tummy gets upset if I've gone that long without eating. Those things matter. It's not an expectation. He's just meeting my needs organically. So I don't have to have those tussles anymore. But also the shit that I expected before all boiled down to the story that I was creating in my head about what his action or inaction meant.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Which is why awareness is so important, being more aware, being more present. And I tell my clients there's a big difference between expectations and boundaries. We are, and this was hard for me to accept when I was first introduced to it too, but we really do benefit from releasing expectations, but that doesn't mean that we can't have boundaries. It doesn't mean that we communicate if needs aren't being met. It doesn't mean you expect them to, you don't expect anything from communicating your needs. That's on them. And if they do it, right? If they don't do it and you're being drained by a relationship, like you said, that's not the relationship for you.
Right. But I think people's fear of loss keeps them, like one of my kids who's a teenager, I had to explain to him, like, baby, that's not how boundaries work. You don't say, you better stop, or I'm telling you, I'm gonna blah, blah, blah. It is one time communicating your non-negotiables. And if that person doesn't meet that needs, then your boundary is to exit the scene, baby. It's not to tell them to change. They're not aligned with you. So you've got to go. And I don't know if he ever learned it, but he finally was to me. So,
well, it's true. The fear of loss can really prevent us from prioritizing ourselves, which is why our relationship with ourselves is so important.
Yes, the most important. That's why I'm like self first, self first, self first. But that is like the antithesis of what I was raised to believe was true. And so many people are walking around thinking that servitude to their own demise is the answer. And no, it is fucking not. If you do not have the time, energy, or resources, the answer is no. You can't do it. You just can't. And these people think that martyring themselves over and over and over makes them a saint. Well, fucking count me out for sainthood, because I don't give a fuck. I'm not doing it. I do love the shit out of myself. And yes, I'll still find myself doing something from a place of guilt instead of like a place of a yes. You know what I mean? Not often, but it happens, especially like with my kids, like that's probably the most codependent relationship I have is with my kids, where I don't want to hurt them or disappoint them, or you know what I mean? And I work on that every day to where it's like, no, it's not the absence of love. It's empowering, actually. But it's hard. It's really hard because I don't want to lose my relationship with them. So that fear of loss can propel you to do things that you wouldn't normally do and to tolerate shit you wouldn't normally tolerate. Like, the amount of fucking men I beg to return a text, like what the fuck? The most simple thing. I mean, now in hindsight, I can go, well, honey, they would respond to the but you needed like a response to every 3 million texts that you were sending, because I'm a fucking Gemini and I'm going to talk and I want to connect and I want to la la la. And that, that's not who I'm attracted to. I'm attracted to the quiet, mysterious guys. So like that's just because they're avoidant. And I like that. So like just working through all of that and being like, honey, your self-worth is not tied to whether or not some man is going to respond to you. Like, it doesn't matter. And that was a big struggle with my husband for so many years. Like it did not compute to me how he could not think about me during his workday and like want to share something exciting with me, because he was the first person I wanted to share something exciting with. And I'd find out that his business partner knew and I didn't know for like 2 weeks. I'd be like, that's so like, you betrayed me, but I didn't have the vocabulary to even understand what I was feeling. So I just felt embarrassed all the time, because I was like, why did that hurt my feelings? I don't know, but it does. So now I have to hold it in because blah, blah. So now I'm relying on what finite amount of self-control and discipline I had. And 3 seconds later, I'm like, I just think it's funny that every time, just explosion. All based off expectations.
Yeah. It's why, again, awareness is so important, and we can build our awareness through practicing paying attention to ourselves,
Being mindful and present. Yeah. That is a real practice too. I'm so good at it now, but wow, I couldn't listen to people talk without just disassociating.
It's a muscle, it really is. You build it through working on it and practicing it. So, wherever we find ourselves, if we find ourselves struggling with something, or even like thinking a certain way very often, noticing it is the first step, and then taking consistent action to changing that, because the brain has neuroplasticity, and so it can change. Just because we are programmed to think in a certain way, or we tend to do things in a certain way, doesn't mean that that's a life sentence. It's just going to take consistent, intentional action to change it. And we can change our lives to be what we want them to be you just got to, believe it and do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Such a good message.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm so grateful that you were on today. And if you want anything specific, like included in my show notes or the intro that I do, just feel free to send it over. And I'll probably not let you know until the day before, because that's usually when I remember to let somebody know that their episode is airing. But I do tend to let you know the day before. So
yeah, that sounds great. Connecting more hopefully in the future.
Hey, I'm here. I'm your friend. Okay. So you just be my friend, and that's all you need to do.
Yes, I would love that. I would seriously love that.
Good, because I'm like, Houston's not that far, and I've never been there. So,
How is it? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I would love to, for real. We could plan a little event. I think we would have a great time, dude. I'm so serious.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I want to get into like more live stuff. And you said you've done like speaking engagements and things, kinds of things you speak at.
Well, my first one was at a really big symposium here, like a social work, the Zero Foundation Symposium, professional developments. Tomorrow I'm going to a place where, it's a homeless day school for kids. And it's like a parent meeting, like talking about how to get through like the holiday shame kind of thing, And I got to actually be a panelist on this thing for the private foster care agency that I was a part of. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Casey Family Program, but I was raised in that foster program. Mm-hmm. And so they had an all staff meeting that I got to speak at, and it was fucking cool as fuck. But so I am trying to build that, like that's where I want the biggest part of my stuff to be. I want therapy to be the smallest. I've always wanted it to be the smallest because it's very taxing, because I give so much of myself in those sessions that I'm probably even doing a little more than I want to right now. So I'm really, really trying to build the other parts, and then, just trying to get this podcast to make money eventually. But like, I haven't tried to yet, because I have had so much fun doing it. I mean, yeah, it bums me out that like, I haven't been discovered, but like, not really, so yeah, I'm just trying to do more live stuff too. I'm actually looking into like podcast, what's the, like, how they have Comic-Con, like convention, like convention type things. And there's like a space for the work that you're doing too. So I think there's a way that we could really like co-mingle that. And I'm open to it. So like, for real, I am not typical either. I have the idea and want to jump on it with a collaborator to where we just flow into like, okay, or someone else comes to me with the idea and I'm like, ooh, yeah. And I can build on that. And like, and I want to do anything that propels me to step more into my power. So like, if you have an idea, but you're like a little nervous to do it by yourself, I'll fucking help you. I don't care. Like especially when it's not even like my idea, my ego is not involved in that at all. I just want to help you at that point. So it's like, oh, hell yeah. You know what I mean? So it's so much easier when somebody else is like more invested in it, because then I just give you the gifts. I don't have to like put the pressure on it, Yeah,
I totally get that. Yeah. I mean, I don't have ideas, but if I ever do, I'll definitely reach out. And
if I do, because I wanted to do something with someone else, and I started the process of like a shared spreadsheet, but then like every time I do that, they have like chaos in their lives and it doesn't end up working out. So I've just felt like, okay, it just wasn't meant to be at that time or whatever. But if I come up with something, I'm happy to be like, how can you fit into this? And like, let's do this, because I do want to go to Houston for real. So I mean, like, we'll come up with something shit.
Yeah. What area of Oklahoma are you in?
It's Central.
I don't know Oklahoma. Where is Oklahoma City in Oklahoma?
I'm in Oklahoma City. Well, I'm in a little suburb right outside of it, but yeah, I'm like right in the center.
Oh my gosh, I was literally just there last weekend for a bachelorette party. We were in Oklahoma City.
Okay. How fun! How exciting!
Definitely.
Okay, I have to hop off. I'm late for the next one. Sorry.
No worries. Thanks so much. This is awesome.
Have a terrific Tuesday.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Emotionally unavailable. Hey, what do you say? Listen, first and foremost, please make sure that you have provided this podcast with a 5-star rating on whichever platform that you are listening. If you want to support the show, please rate, like, and share. Also like, comment, and share on any social media posts that you see from me on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. Please follow the podcast Facebook, Emotionally Unavailable Podcast. You can shop my fun online store or schedule a one-on-one with me at emotionallyunavailablepodcast.org. I'm offering what I'm calling non-traditional counseling, astrology readings, and tarot readings. And thank you so much for listening to the Emotionally Unavailable Podcast. Emotionally unavailable. Emotionally unavailable.
INDEPE and cut.
High interest debt is one of the toughest opponents you'll face. Unless you power up with a SoFi personal loan. A SoFi personal loan could repackage your bad debt into one low fixed rate monthly payment. It's even got super speed, since you could get the funds as soon as the same day you sign. Visit SoFi.com/power to learn more. That's SoFi.com/POWER. Loans originated by SoFi Bank N.A. Member FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. NMLS 696891.
Marketing is hard. But I'll tell you a little secret. It doesn't have to be. Let me point something out. You're listening to a podcast right now, and it's great. You love the host. You seek it out and download it. You listen to it while driving, working out, cooking, even going to the bathroom. Podcasts are a pretty close companion. And this is a podcast ad. Did I get your attention? You can reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a pre-produced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience and their favorite podcasts with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com, that's LIBSYN, ads.com today.